Hey everyone, it's Lucy and today I'm going to be doing my first impressions / unboxing, even though I've already unboxed it, of the Katie Jane Hughes Spectrum Collections brush set. So I purchased this with my own money, so right up front I'm going to tell you I paid for it, so I'm going to be honest. This is going to be my first impressions. I intentionally did not use these brushes before filming the video because I really wanted to actually take a look at them up close on camera and give you my first impressions. Now, I am a makeup aficionado. I am not a professional makeup artist. However, I do makeup all the time on Instagram if you follow me here. And you know that I love doing colourful eyeshadow. If I had to choose between eyeshadow and lipstick, I would hands down always choose eyeshadow. It's my favourite thing. I feel the most creative when I'm doing eyeshadow. And I will say I've tried a lot of brushes. I used to think, you know, back in the day that MAC brushes were like the best ever, which I'm sure a lot of people did. And there's also been lots of much cheaper brush sets that have come out over the years, especially at the height of like peak Instagram makeup stuff. But my favorite brushes to this date have been the Rapha brushes, and those were actually recommended by Katie Jane Hughes, and I've followed her for a while. She knows what's up, and I was super excited for this collaboration. You might ask me, did I need this many new brushes? The answer is hell no, but they're not available individually yet. I think when they restock, they're going to be bringing out smaller sets, and I don't know about individuals, but I think I heard smaller sets. However, if you don't have any brushes, then I would say, based on the look of the packaging and everything I've seen so far, that it would be worth it. It is an investment, and if you wash and dry your brushes appropriately and look after them, they last such a long time, especially when they're well made, which I have no doubt these will be. So let's get straight into the video. If you want to watch more of these kinds of videos, I talk about makeup, life, books, all kinds of stuff, then keep on watching. And obviously, if you like that kind of stuff, thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and check out some of my other videos here. So let's just get straight into it. I have already opened the package because I just had to open it on my stories. I couldn't help myself. I'm looking down at my phone because I have it out ready to tell you about pricing. So let's kick off with that. So the first thing we have is, I'm just going to show you exactly what you get. This was in a box, which I have thrown out, but it was like a nice cardboard box from Spectrum. And this is the cardboard packaging that it sits within. This is really nice. It's kind of like merch, like memorabilia, and it's definitely something that I will put on my shelf, and you could totally like store things in this. I love using these kinds of PR packages. Like I've received, actually down on the floor next to me is a tin from an Urban Decay PR package, and I love to store like spare setting spray bottles inside the tin just because it looks nicer. So I think I'll probably use this to store various things in because it's quite big. You could fit like full bottles of makeup or hair products. So that's cool, really, really nice. It's like matte with photographic glossy finish photos of lots of makeup, taking inspiration from art store painter brushes, as that's what makeup is after all. That's true. And then inside, you get this, I assume it's like polyurethane, like vegan. I don't think it's real leather at all. Now, the one thing I will say, this is my first negative because I've got to be honest, the smell when this came out of the tube was pretty revolting. I work in the fashion industry, so I'm well aware that certain fabrications have a smell, and I believe that the brushes inside here were also wrapped in plastic. But the smell was pretty off-putting. I'm also someone who gets migraines triggered by smells. Like someone's really strong perfume could actually give me a migraine. So for me, I opened it and then I had to sit it out sort of in a different part of the house to let it air out. So it definitely smells less. I also don't really want to sniff this too closely because that really could give me a migraine. So that would be my one negative so far, is that the packaging stinks, but the design is cute. So it's actually I've never received brushes in a package like this. I think it's really great. And you can buy brush holders like this, especially if you're a professional makeup artist. And I think the general idea with these brushes is they can be for personal use or professional use, and that's cool. And then you also get this cute little photo postcard with a little quote on the back, which is really nice, and a brush guide, which does explain all the different types of brushes. So maybe what I'll do is I'll actually use the brush guide and I will read you through and tell you what's up. So it goes up to number 24, and I'm pretty sure one of the brushes came with 2. And I will double check when I get to it as to whether that is intentional or if I randomly got an extra brush, but it's a blending brush, so I'm thinking it was intentional, like one with the color and one to keep clean. So I believe there's 25 brushes in total, but 24 different kinds of brushes. So I'm going to use this brush guide and we're just going to open them all out onto my table and get into it. So once I've done this review, if you want to see me actually use the brushes in a tutorial or just like a random test on my face, then let me know and I absolutely will. So this is how the case comes apart. I actually just popped it off because I couldn't help myself. So it's got little snaps and this pops out. I suppose you can put the brushes in without the little cloth and then you'll see what's inside. So that's cute. And you could easily just leave this on your table if you're using it for personal use. So I'm just going to pull the brushes out in their little rolled up thing and hopefully they won't fall out. I did take them out and put them in order and took a photo on my stories. So this is all the brushes and I'm gonna unroll them onto the table, and I should really try and put them back into order so that we can go through. So let me put them in order and I'll be back. Okay, so before I talk you through the brushes, let's talk about price. So the brushes full price were £159.99, which today, which is the 31st of March, that converts to 219 USD and 60 cents, or $288.95 AUD. I actually used a discount code which saved me £16. So my total was £144, which converted to $267.32 AUD. So that is how much I paid, and I think I might have even used like a Katie Jane Hughes discount code, which seems kind of funny to use her code for her product, but I did. Anyway, so that's how much it was. So nearly 300 Australian dollars. Was it worth it? Let's find out. Let's just take a look at the brushes. I have them all laid out in front of me. So as you can see, there's a huge variety of brushes. There's large face brushes all the way down to detailed eye brushes. And I suppose I won't really know until I start using them if I think there's anything missing in terms of what I like. I actually don't use too many different brushes to do my makeup. Bare minimum, I need a powder brush for under the eyes, a powder brush for the face, a blush brush, a bronzer brush, and a highlighter brush. That's kind of my face brushes. So, okay, maybe that's a lot, that's 5 brushes. And then for eyes, I can get away with like 2 or 3. So there's mostly eye brushes in this set, but I believe that a lot of them are meant to be versatile. Let's just get straight into it. I'm gonna go in order, we're gonna keep this nice and organized, and I will be reading from the brush guide. Let's just kick it off with number 1. So I haven't even taken the protective packaging off because I want you guys to see it exactly. Let's also have a nice close-up look at the actual color. It's a really beautiful olive green and the text is gold, and we've got gold here and the bristles are white. So comparing it to, because I feel like it's always good to compare, just in terms of size and branding, comparing it to the Refa brushes. The Refa brushes are made in Japan. I actually don't know where these are made. That's an interesting one. These always say Japan. This has the number on one side, little R for Refa on the other side. More of a streamlined design, and it's silver. It's a different type of brush, but it's just a different design. These ones actually like get a bit thicker and then taper down, whereas this one, oh, it actually does a similar thing, but anyway, it's just interesting always to compare brushes. I feel like these look more traditional in a way and less modern. And it just says Spectrum X KJH and it has the number. So this is number 1. Let me read, I've got to read each thing first so I don't forget. Brush 1, the biggest brush in the collection. I was hesitant at first to have a brush this large in the kit, but a lot of people like a brush this big and I've been loving using it for bronzer. Okay, so I'm just going to compare it to the brush that I personally use for my bronzer, and it's pretty damn close, honestly. Look at that. So this is the Refa 19, and this is what I like to use for bronzer, which is actually really, it's super interesting that she mentioned that. I like a bronzer brush with a point because then it allows me to just get into small spaces, side of the nose, etc. If you use a big fluffy brush for bronzer, it can get a bit out of control and a bit muddy. So it's very, very close. I would say this looks more densely packed, but it's pretty similar, honestly. So that's lovely. And it feels ridiculously soft. Like, I don't know if you can see the sort of texture going on, but it's like a bunny rabbit. Like, I'm not saying it's made from a bunny rabbit, but like the fluffiness of a bunny rabbit. Lovely. So let's move on. Number 2. This one says, simple and straightforward blush brush that can be used for any powder and cream products, as can all of the brushes. A little bit more dense to brush 3. Okay, so this is number 2. And I'm going to compare it to what I would use for blush, which is Refa 5. So I use a much bigger brush for my blush personally, but I don't doubt that this would be interesting. I think I'm just usually in a rush and I just like to chuck it on, but I'm definitely open to trying this one. Moving on to number 3. So it did make a comparison between 2 and 3. It says it's a beautiful duo fiber cheek brush that can also be used for foundation or placing contour. I love this brush. It's really soft and delicate and works beautifully with creams and powders. Okay, cool. So duo fiber, but it's honestly really hard to tell except for it feels like maybe there's shorter bristles and longer ones sticking out. So that is number 3. And for scale, that's number 3. So I feel like for me, it's not quite a highlighter brush. You can see that the end is really light and fluffy and it's dense from about this point. So maybe that's where the duo fibers kick in, but it's definitely an interesting one. I don't think I have any brushes like that exact sort of shape. Number 4. Another lovely duo fiber brush. Typically duo fiber works beautifully for creams and non-duo fibers for powders, but again, there really are no rules. Okay, so this one's angled, as you can see, which is interesting. And it's kind of like flatter on the side. So this one actually has, the metal part has been pressed flat. It's not rounded, which is interesting to note. And I feel like that would definitely be good for brushing on some cream contour. Maybe not blending it, but definitely applying it. I think that would be really great. I have the Fenty Cream bronzer, so I would really like to try that. Number 5, we'll read the blurb first. A really good angled brush, great for shading and for blush if you want a really soft impression. Also great for powder with the tapered point. Okay, that's what it looks like. I keep forgetting I don't have to put my hand up with this camera. It's really got some great focus. So again, it's pressed flat here. So from the side, it's flat. It's angled up. And yeah, it feels like it's a synthetic. Is that what it said? It doesn't actually say, but it says also great for powder. No, I think this is, I don't know, this might be like an under eye powder brush for me, possibly. The one I use right now for under eye powder is a synthetic brush from Alamar Cosmetics. It's definitely more rounded, but that's what I'm currently using just for the under eye powder. And then for the rest of my face powder, I'm using this big Hakuhodo Sephora fluffy one. So we'll see. I don't think there's anything to replace that, but that's fine. This would be super interesting for powder, for sure. Okay. Now we are moving on to number 6. So those are all the brushes that come with like a protective sort of thing around them, and all the other ones don't. Number 6, a typical foundation brush, however it works beautifully for powder placement. Okay, so I generally don't apply my foundation or concealer with a brush, but it would still be interesting. The only thing I'm seeing with this brush, can you see how it's like a little bit wonky? Like there's, I don't know if it got sort of, something went wrong with it in the packaging, or I don't know what's going on here. It's a bit wonky, but maybe after washing it, it'll ease up. And I also don't know if it's meant to be asymmetrical or symmetrical. I just can't quite tell. But I mean, it still looks nice. I hardly ever use brushes like this personally, but looks good. It feels nice. It's a nice shape. Now brush 7. And okay, a really versatile, large, smudgy and wide type of pencil brush. Great for around the entire lash line, for blurring the lip edge and placing concealer in large spaces. Okay, so it's kind of like a large concealer brush. For me, I would honestly use this if I just want to do an eyeshadow look kind of similar to today, where I really just want to get the color on quickly before blending. That's what I would use this for. However, I'm interested to try the lip thing with it as well, for sure. Okay, the next one is number 8. A brush so amazing we gave you 2 in the set. Okay, so it wasn't a mistake. You can use it for highlighter, a bit of contour, concealer, powder. It's amazing. I trust that it's amazing, and I do love having multiples of a really good brush. I could definitely use this for subtle highlighter for sure. My current highlighter brush is bigger. I use Refa 18. So I definitely am a bit more heavy-handed with my highlighter, but that's fine. Again, I'm usually just doing my makeup as quickly as possible, but I could certainly use this as a highlighter brush. I'd probably also blend out a very blurred eye look with that, but it's still bigger than most of the brushes I use for my eyes. So there's 2 of those. Then we move to number 9. This brush is really unique because you can put it in the waterline with a cream liner, or you can clean up any kind of makeup mistakes around the lip or eyeline. So it's very wide, square, flat brush, and it's super, super thin. Like it's ridiculously thin on the end, which is kind of amazing. I don't know if you can see how thin that is. So thin. Like paper thin. I have some brushes like this. They're not as wide, but I like the idea of using it to clean up mistakes. That's actually probably how I would use it. So next, number 10, a great everything blender. Easily get around the nose and eyes. You can blend your eyeshadow, use it for concealer, blend in lipsticks, and prime the eyes with it. So that's what that one looks like. And for scale, it's still quite big, but I certainly think that could also be used as a micro highlighter brush, and definitely like setting powder around the nose in smaller places would be great. Next we have brush 11. Probably my favorite eyeshadow blending brush. I love this for concealer as well as eyeshadow. Perfect for cream eyeshadow and powder eyeshadow. So basically all the brushes can be used for everything. I think we get the gist. That one is pressed flat, so it's not fully round, and it's fluffy. Like it's still densely packed though. It's not super fluffy, but I like it. And honestly, I don't think I have one exactly like that. I feel like most of the Refa brushes are more fully rounded. They're not squashed flat. Next one, number 12. Great for lash line detail or a blurry lip. Ideal for all the small details. Okay, so this is like what I would call a shader brush. And I would typically use a brush like this to pack shimmery, sparkly color onto the lid. And I would also do a little bit of blending in the crease with it before moving to a bigger brush. So I really like the look of that one. And it also, because it's flattened as well, that definitely would be good for doing like a smoky lower lash line and packing on the color before blending. The next one is number 13. A slightly longer version of a pencil brush to give you more traction with a little bit of movement in the bristles. Okay, so longer as in the bristles are longer, I believe is what she means. Because a lot of pencil brushes are kind of shorter and stubbier, which means it has more of like a hard pressed effect, whereas this is still, like she's saying, looser to sort of still keep it light and fluffy. And I'll show you up close. I think it's really nice. Like I would definitely use that under the eye for blending out the lower lash line. And honestly, I'd probably use it on the inner corner here, like that. Okay, moving on to the next one. Brush 14. I wanted a brush that felt pointy but flat, so you could do a lot of detailing with it. I like this because you can create a lovely cupid's bow for your lip, or you can get right into the inner corner of your eye with cream eyeshadow. Okay, cool. So this is what it looks like. Nice and thin on the side. So it's really just like a flat shader that's good for sort of cream. It's densely packed, it's flat, it's papery, it's lovely. So I would also, yeah, use it on the inner corner of the upper lid to pack on something kind of like a bodyography pigment that's sort of creamy powdery. And like she said, it looks like it'd be a great lip brush. Next one, number 15. One of my favorites. I love using this wet, packing on a metallic eyeshadow or all around the lash line, or even for concealer or a lip color. I feel like every single description is, or anything, just use it for whatever you want. But I'm gonna tell you what I think I would use it for. This to me is similar to one of the previous ones. I would also use this to pack eyeshadow onto the lower part of the lash line, but on the top lid, and then blend it out because it is slightly fluffier on the edges. And I would probably also use this under the eye. Next, we're onto the back of the paper, brush 16. A really long brush that allows for you to really draw on the lip color perfectly, as well as painting on any kind of eyeshadow and cream textures and formulas. So I just love this purely from like an artist's perspective. I think it's going to be really fun because it's nice and square to dip this into like a Glisten Cosmetics liner and just draw some like painterly shapes. And it's just nice to have a square edge sometimes so you can sort of carve out a shape and sort of twist the brush in your hand. So I really like the look of that one. This one looks like one of my favorite kind of brushes. Let's have a look. This is number 17. And it says it's a really great, small, delicate, petite blender. Brushes like this are few and far between. I like this because it is one of those necessary ones for really small details or even smaller eyelids. So I think the reason why I love these kinds of brushes is they're great when you have, I guess, a smaller eye area, which actually I kind of do. It's hard to tell, but really when you have hooded eyes, like sometimes you just need to start small. If you use big brushes, it can just kind of get in the way and prevent you from doing something really nice. So I use these kind of brushes all the time. I definitely have a Refa one. Let me see if I have it. Similar Refa brush would absolutely be number 13. You can see they're very, very similar. And you can see that this is stained green because I use it all the time. And Refa also has a slightly bigger one, which is number 14, which I think I can see another similar one coming up, but they're very, very similar. This one's probably just a bit, there's probably less hairs in this one. Okay, the next one is number 18. A really essential pencil brush that is nice and pointy at the tip, really allows for you to get into the lash line and create interesting details on the eyes, or you can use it to pinpoint, conceal, or can blur a lip. So this one. So that one I would definitely use for my lower lash line, definitely for inner corner highlight, honestly probably brow bone highlight as well. That's what I would use it for. Next one is number 19. Another one of the smaller, more petite blending brushes for the crease or for the lash line to really build shapes, shadow, and details with. Yeah, so this is another one that I would absolutely use on a daily basis. It's very, very similar to, let's see, it's very similar to Refa 14. very, very similar to Refa 14. Which is great. I mean, I'm happy, like I don't mind having basically duplicates of similar types of brushes, and it'll be really interesting to see how they perform over time, how they last, how they wash, etc. Next we have number 20, a really great flat concealer brush or eyeshadow cream brush. Okay. Thin on the side, really nice. I feel like there's a lot of similar ones and it's really just about size. Like I'm seeing some similarities along the way, but honestly it's fine. I think as long as you have your brushes out and on display, it also gives you opportunity with a brush set like this to have multiple colors going at once and not being stressed about having to clean the brush in between color changes. Sometimes when I'm doing a really colorful look, I like to keep one brush allocated to each color and kind of keep them all out so that I can go back and keep blending and mixing. So having multiples that are kind of similar, I'm totally down for that. All right, next one, we're getting close to the end. Number 21, a dream cut crease brush to draw in underbrow details, or you can even feather brow products with a brush like this because it's pointy enough and small enough but not too dense where it can create lines and stripes. Okay, so this is like a really cute little detail brush. It's rounded, it's just super, super cute. And the closest Refa match, sorry, I haven't been doing this the whole way, but just there's some that really remind me of Refa brushes, which is totally understandable. This is probably the closest match, I would say. And this is Refa number 3. And the Refa one is just slightly thicker and stubbier and slightly more tapered, whereas this one fans out a bit more and the Refa one goes a bit more like that. But very, very similar. And I will certainly be using that for like delicate under eye stuff. Cool, only 3 more to go. So next we have number 22, iconic eyeliner brush, great for a bold wing, dense enough to apply a decent amount of product, but pointy enough for precision as well. So this one does come with like a plastic thing to protect it. And here it is. And after this video, if you love doing graphic liner, it would be a great opportunity to watch one of my previous videos where I compare 2 really popular brands of eyeliner brushes, and I'll tell you what my favorite is and which ones I think are worth buying. This one, honestly, if you see my summary from that video, you'll see that this type of brush is pretty much exactly the size and length that I like using. I don't like the micro ones. I like them rounded. I don't really like them too long either, so that's great. I love that brush, and I'm just gonna pop the little plastic cap back on to protect it. Next, we have the second last brush, brush 23. I really wanted to create an eyebrow brush with a really nice eyebrow liner brush at the end that could actually double as an eyeliner brush for eyes. Definitely store this brush spoolie side down to keep the bristles on the brush nice and defined. And Katie did actually message me when she saw my story and reminded me of this fact, and that's cool. I will definitely do that. I actually store my brushes generally lying down in an acrylic drawer, so I am not going to damage it, but if I was, I would store it this way. The only thing is I do tend to bend my spoolies, so then I probably would be damaging it by storing it this way up. But the point is, don't store it on top of the bristles, okay? This is the cutest angled little thing I've ever seen. Comparing this to some of my other brow brushes, let's see if I have my other brow brush right here. I've got the Anastasia number 12, and this one is just so much cuter. It's just a little bit more narrow, slightly more of a point, and definitely thinner from the side. And then in terms of length, the actual whole brush is longer. The spoolie is longer as well. So potentially this spoolie is like a little big for me because I actually do love the size of this spoolie, but really cute. And I don't really do my brows with a brush these days, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe I will. And now onto the final brush, number 24. Inspired by nail art brushes, I've made tweaks to my favorite makeup brushes to make them a bit more like art brushes. This brush is a really long, thin liner brush, great for doing longer, thinner lines with precision. Okay, so I, again, have a couple of these kinds of brushes from other brands. Let's try and get this to focus. I have a couple of these brushes from other brands, and I do like these kind of brushes. I think these are great to do for doing like long fluid lines. The longer the brush, it kind of just is less likely to go kind of bumpy along the way. But I still generally lean more towards the other kind. So in addition to all of these, I'm now going to gather these all up. And now they're getting all out of order, and just show you like, this is how many brushes you get. So it's really, honestly, it's a lot of brushes for that much money, which is really great. You have these sitting on your vanity looking absolutely gorgeous. And then it comes with this little brush roll up thing, which honestly, I feel like you could lay this down. If you are a working makeup artist, you can pop this down and lay your brushes out, but you could also honestly probably wash your face with this because it is a microfiber cloth. But yeah, I think it's really, really cute. I think this mostly comes in handy for having on your lap. Now, I personally, when I'm sitting doing my makeup, I have a towel, like an old towel on my lap. And then while I'm working, like if I'm changing between colors, I will brush onto the towel. That's how I like to work, and I think a lot of people do that. So I think this is actually really cute to have this down on my lap, you know, instead of a dirty towel. But it's also a good way to like roll up the brushes. So it really just depends what you want to do with that, but it's super cute. So you can just pop the little towel in there and have that there. And I was thinking, you know, maybe I'd put them away, but for now I think I will leave these out just because I think it's so beautiful to look at. So that's it really. I'm going to keep the little guide in with the brushes, and I might reference it, but to be honest, I mean, it sounds like the summary of these brushes is that you can just use them for whatever you feel like, and the world is your oyster. So as far as I'm aware, you know, the brushes are out of stock at the moment. I think you can sign up if you want to get notified for the restock. I'm pretty sure the whole set is coming back, as well as maybe some smaller sets. I think what I'll do next is film another video in the next week or so, just doing my makeup and seeing which brushes I gravitate towards, almost like a little bit of a choose your own adventure. Let's just do like a normal daily makeup and see if I can get away with only using these brushes to replace all the brushes that I currently use. And then maybe that would be helpful for you. Let me know if you think it would be helpful to decide which brushes to get, because I know that this is definitely too many brushes for most people. But if you want to see which brushes I recommend getting, if you want to just only buy like 5, then let me know. And subscribe, and then you'll see my new video when it comes out. But thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, I really appreciate it. Make sure to thumbs up, subscribe, follow me on Instagram. This is where I chat the most about makeup. I'm always posting random stuff on my stories and posting looks and tutorials and all of that. And that's it. See you next time. Bye.